Hi everybody and welcome back. This is a kit review about a helicopter made by Italeri in 148 scale. I think this is the best scale for such type of models, even more when they are small subjects like this one. This is a Bell 47 OH13, the Sioux. Americans always had the tradition to give names of Indians to their helicopters. You know, we have the Apache, we have the Cayuse. There is several. You know, this is the Sioux, and the model made by Italeri. Italeri about I think was about 20 years ago raised the excellence, you know, in being probably the most important plastic kit producer featuring helicopters. You know, the helicopters made by them are constantly absolutely decent and well done models, you know, and this model of the Bell 47 is no exception. And this is one of the many reprinting they made, because I think the original model is something of about 15 to 20 years ago. The original mold is very interesting because, you know, they feature every time a very nice box art about the subject that they are going to do, and very often also here you can use the box art like a real reference to see the details of all the machines. So it's very important to have the box of the model you're going to build up. Of course, this is an official licensed production, you know, because today when you do such stuff in such numbers, you absolutely require the royalty from the company, from the Bell Corporation. And the model indeed is absolutely well done. Before this model arrived on the market, I remember that when I had my shop in Milano, Galeumbre 41, we had some companies making resin and photo etched set for this subject, you know, because all the rear frame always have been a problem. I mean, if you have the skill to scratch build it completely from zero with evergreen rod, you can absolutely make it. Otherwise, is a little bit messy and complicated. Even if you have the material, you require a very high level of skill, you know, to make this type of detail. Instead, Italeri made a pretty decent copy of this Sioux. Even if, you know, talking with some friends, I have a close friend that was working with me in the racing company, Yes, Giorgio, I salute him here, and he owns a real one, because these were the little helicopters that today they became vintage items and are kept in service by Aeroclub and lovers of the helicopter flying. You know, despite it's a little bit impressive, because the machine is really an helicopter coming, I think, from the 50s, from the early 50s, and you really see the technology of the time. So this was a project really famous in America, because they have been used. I think they made millions of types of the little OH13, you know, or H13. Let's see what's inside of the model. Of course, with modern standard, there is always something that we can blame, and we can say, okay, this could be made better, this could be made worse, but here it is what we get. First of all, the most important part, I think, is that in this reissue they made once again a brand new decal sheet. Usually they are made by Cartograph or even Zanchetti. That is probably, in my opinion, even better quality than Cartograph today. I placed them constantly inside a plastic sealed bag. This to avoid humidity during the use. I don't think to build it immediately soon, this model, you know. But you see, the level of the decals is absolutely well done. They also feature the logos of the Marina Militare, MM Marina Militare Italiana, with the datas and the numbers and the writing in Italian language, you know, and two little national insignia for Italia. You know, there is several versions. So the British one is constantly very nice, you know, so with the Daiglo inserts. Probably is the nicest version that you can do with this one. As typical from Italeri, they provide in this new series also a colored instruction sheet. Is something that will increase a little the price of the final model. I bought this one and this object from Amazon, and I think I paid something like $28 from them, arriving the day after. Amazon is really amazing service. You know, you order the items, very often there is bargain price, and you have it the day later. 1 day later you have it at your your door. So it's incredible, really. Amazon really killing every postal service in the world. So the instructions are quite complete. You see there is just a few references about the parts not to be used, just a fuel tanker there for a different version, but this is quite critical and very, very important to have a proper documentation of the real machine that you are willing to build up, because there are several differences from all the versions that have flied around of the H13. They feature a complete engine, despite very simple. There is no cable, no wiring, of course, in as typical from plastic model kits, but you can add a lot of detail. There was, I think, also a set of Edward making some photo etched part, mostly for the cockpit, for the seat belts, and so on. And the rear frame, as you can see, molded in very thin plastic, and could be even thinner, because if you read the real object is a little more detailed in reality, of course, than a static model can be. But this is a very, very good compromise, at least a very, very good base how to start and to make a very nice and cool, super detailed set of this model. It's not so easy. I've seen several assembled and they are quite every time convincing. The look is absolutely nice and well taken, in my opinion, of this stuff. And last but not least, here, as we said, all the version that you can do. This was the typical mesh helicopter, from the mesh series. It was so famous. This was from the first cavalry Vietnam, 1966. It was operative also in Korean War, despite I don't see any decals here about the Korean War, but it's quite simple machine. So as you've seen, probably was not so much, was not featuring so many differences from the version used in Vietnam in 1966. This is the UK version 76, and also the German one that they show here is extremely interesting. This red and black spot seems like the German flag, over the helicopter with the yellow marking on the tail fin. Italeri also constantly feature a quite precise federal standard code for the paintings, so you cannot go wrong. I mean, if you don't want to, back in time they used it to sign it down for the Model Master series. Now they changed it and they just place the correct federal standard. As usual, my tip is to look closely at the real object if you can, and then keep with your eyes and your inspiration what your eyes see. It's better than any federal standard detail and numbers and so on, because very often I see models that get stuck into the number of the federal standard and indeed they don't see that the real tone of the real object is completely different. This you cannot get usually just looking at picture. It should be better if you wait a little and you wait the moment when you can cross an example in clear daylight of the real object that you want to build up. This happens with cars, with tanks, with everything, with everything. Last but not least, as we said, the Augusta version made for the Augusta Bell, you see not only here Bell H13, this is really named Augusta Bell AB47G from Marina Militare Italiana, and it was an example flying in 1956. So it's absolutely, for me, this is absolutely the most interesting stuff ever. There is plenty of books available in Italy about the marine helicopter, and this is just a kind of aperitivo of the kit review that I want to make on my channel, because the next one will be, I gave you a little tip for the one of the next arriving on the channel will be about him, the brand new Sea King from Airfix. They made a stunning model. I'm so excited, guys, to have this model in my hands, and that will be an amazing model that have, of course, here you can see the pile of model that will be in my future review. We're starting from, maybe also that I can do, the Huracan from Andrea, Profile 24 McLaren, my 333 SP, the ultra famous 934, the Scania record that I found on eBay, and some other trucks, some special Scania, that masterpiece, a Tomcat that I took from a bargain price. That Tomcat, I think I paid something like 15 bucks, not 50. And so that's it. The model is, in my opinion, very nicely done. Of course, the front bulge is the nicest part that sometimes is made in other multimedia kits in vacuum form and so on, but it is absolutely decent. It's always a little tricky part in Italeri models to cut properly this side, and I always suggest just to keep it, to cut it quite far away from this point with maybe a mini drill. You know, I use that stuff that is a slow speed mini drill, so never use big Dremel stuff that runs in a high round per minutes, you know, because you risk really to melt the plastic. So it's much better if you just can use something that works really slow speed. That is something that I bought in a cheap discount, you know, so something making for nail workers, you know. I changed the head, but it's absolutely working absolutely great, you know. I bought it from, it was sold at the time, I remember, about 20 years ago from the Tamiya dealer, still working excellent, you know. Has a little leak in the cable, but it's very easy to fix, and it's also a kind of drill that you can stop with your fingers, so it's never something that runs so fast. If you try with the Dremel I used to rebuild completely my catamaran, so it was too much fast and too much powerful object to use it in modeling, so you always need a mini drill working in a very slow speed. And my tip, as I said, is to cut it quite far away from the connection point of the part. Maybe cut it here and then go close, slowly with a little sand grip to the corner, you know. Parts like this Italeri correctly printed in one single mold piece, pretty decent, you know. They also feature the parts for the doors. They can be optional, sometimes they were present, sometimes they were not, but my tip, it is the one to go for an extreme detail. If you go for such type of model, you have to go for extreme detail on all the frame, going to the rail, to the rear rotor, and add as many cable, as many options as you can, you know. I will have probably the possibility to visit. My friend that I just told you before owns a real one of this Bell 47 and take a lot of pictures, even if I suspect he have a slightly different version, as you know. He already talked to me and he said it was a little slightly different version from this one, so we will see. But it will be a great occasion to have proper documentation and proper references to build up a stunning model of this one. These are incredible because when they are complete helicopters and they are full of details and cable and so on, they are incredibly eye-catching. So it is absolutely one of the nicest objects ever you can do in a helicopter. The bad side of the situation when you build up a helicopter is that mostly of them, even if I think all of them have the feature that can be disassembled in the rotor, in the main rotor, in the upper rotor, you know. But if you display an ordinary finished model, quite every time the rotor takes a lot of space, you have this round sprocket, you know, taking I don't know if they place the size of this model here. As you say, they say 20 centimeter. 20 centimeter probably is referred to the length of the model, but of course, if you look at the blades up here, it's basically the same, so this is still on the limit. If you take bigger machines like the Sea King is, the Sea Kings I also choose it because it was one of the most famous one, having they really had a command inside the cabin, you know, to close. It was the pilot that was able to close from the cockpit the main rotor for the parking position, you know. So that is extremely interesting. Of course, you need a better detail than this little one that Italeri can feature. Probably Italeri just kept a simpler version of what was in the real stuff. Then, of course, if you see the real rotor, that is really a mix of parts of cranes and boats, you see that there is a huge detail, so it's surely betterly done than this is the other side. You know, is a very basic detail for this part. But as I said, you know, you have to thinner a little this part, the model is absolutely decent. So if you cross a model, even in 72, even in 48 scale, they also made China, they did a lot of model in the past. Just search for Italeri helicopters 148 or 172 scale, you know, made by them in plastic. They have excellent quality between the price and what you get for the price that you are paying. So it is absolutely worth everything. I think, in my opinion, this is a model that is a must. Everybody loving the Air Force, the helicopters, the Vietnam War, the history of the Korean War and so on. You can absolutely go for this model and you will enjoy it so fucking much. Sorry for the F word, but you know, sometimes it's really a needing. Thanks guys for watching this, and see you in the next one.